Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help ambitious private practitioners across the globe to brand themselves and grow their dream practices. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building ninja tips. Visit privatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and our signature marketing e-course. Here are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. And we are on the last day of our Up Close and Personal podcast series.
Woo!
And I got to tell you guys, not at this very second, but probably 5 seconds before, I was a little nervous because today we are flipping the tables and Kate and I are being interviewed, rather being the interviewees. And Chrissy Barlahan is back with us and she is going to be doing the interviewing.
Yes.
No idea what she's going to ask us, and she'll go nice on us. And so we're going to be flipping the script. So if you're joining us for the very first time, usually we do, podcasts all about private practice and building your business and things like that. And we've decided to do a second Up Close and Personal series where you guys had voted on the practice builders and coaches you most wanted to hear and have us interview, where we put down the business chat and just really get up close and personal. So that's what we're up to today. So you know what? I think we should just kind of dive in. And before we do that, though, let's take a quick moment for one of our sponsors.
When it comes to keeping your practice organized, you want software that's not only simple, but the best. We recommend Therapy Notes. Their platform lets you manage notes, claims, scheduling, and they have a new awesome telehealth platform for your online counseling sessions. They offer amazing unlimited phone support and email support. So when you have a question, they are there to help. To get started with the practice management software trusted by over 60,000 professionals, go to therapynotes.com and start a free trial today. Enter promo code PPS as in Private Practice Startup, and they will give you 2 months to try for free. Go to therapynotes.com.
Tired of never quite feeling comfortable with your private practice financials? I'd like you to meet Green Oak Accounting. Their goal is to empower private practice owners with the financial information they need to make good business decisions. They specialize in working with solo and group private practices in the mental health industry, so they are uniquely positioned to help with figuring out what's normal in your business finances and what's not. So if you've ever had a conversation with your accountant or bookkeeper that left you wishing that they understood private practice or had some best practices to share, head over to greenoakaccounting.com and schedule a free consultation to see if they might be a good fit for you. They can help you with all your accounting needs, from bookkeeping to payroll to profit first and budgeting and forecasting. Head over to greenoakaccounting.com now.
Chrissy, the show is yours. We're handing it over.
How exciting.
I know. Hello, Startup Nation. I am Chrissy Barlahan, and I have the most amazing opportunity to interview these lovely hosts of the Private Practice Startup Podcast, Kate and Katie, for their wonderful Up Close and Personal series. These ladies have not only set the stage for other therapists to thrive in private practice with their fabulous advice, tips, and paperwork, but they do it with grace and ease, maintaining their own practices and business ventures. What is it like? My first question, what's it like to be on the other side of things? I know there's some anxiety, but what does it feel like?
Well, first off, I just want to say it's such an honor to have you back on the show. The first time that we had you on, it was such a joy, and we loved hearing your story. And I know Katie and I were so moved.
Thank you.
Yes, and we were just so connected to you and your personality and everything, and it just came up so authentically to have you be the person to interview us. So this is really cool because we've never had this happen, and we've recorded over 200 episodes of podcast. So, I mean, we've been doing this. How many years has it been, Katie? 3? 4 years.
Oh, man.
Wow, 4 years.
So exciting.
We're recording this on June 4th. The 6th of June will be our 4th year anniversary of recording.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I can remember when the podcast first started, just to be a little nostalgic, I was walking my son around in the stroller, and he's now 5. So I guess it has been a long time. I was walking him around the neighborhood, listening to podcasts. I would do that every morning. It was just kind of a ritual. And I remember being like, Katie, we have got to start a podcast to serve Startup Nation. And so now to be having you interview us, it's like nerve-wracking. Katie said she was sweating a little bit. I'm like definitely sweating a little bit, and I don't even really sweat. So I'm like curious to see what's going to happen here.
I love it. I'm so excited. I think, for me, when I would binge listen to you guys, you guys would reveal like these really small moments of your personal life. And whenever that would happen, I would be like, wait, like, that's all you're going to say about that? Like, tell me more about like your kids, or tell me more about that thing. And so I'm so excited to kind of be on the other side and be able to dig into those things that I've always wondered. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners have wondered too.
Oh no.
All right, well, let's do it. So either one of you can go first, but just give me kind of a little bit of a picture of what it was like to grow up, kind of your background, some of that good juicy information.
Oh, Kate's pointing at me, so that means I go first. So I was born and raised in Connecticut. I consider it cold Connecticut because I really hate the cold. I'm the oldest child, the grandchild, cousin out of everyone.
Wow.
My parents divorced when I was 3. I have a brother who actually passed away in 2009. So my dad had remarried, and my stepmom Kim, and I have 3 half brothers. So, back then was like when your parents were divorced, you did the every other weekend with your dad, right. 6 weeks in the summer thing. So that was kind of my life. And obviously that was just like normal then. I come from on my dad's side, a French Italian family, and the Italian side was very strong for us. So Sunday dinners, it's sauce, not gravy. If anyone, I'll go up. The gravy is the brown stuff. So there's a lot of, strength there in the Italian side. And then my mom's side, my grandmother is actually still living. She's my only grandmother living.
Wow.
I'm very close with her. I've really been blessed to have my grandparents for a long while. So that was kind of the English, German, French, English, German side of our family. So that was kind of Connecticut, and then in 2001 is when I came to Florida. So I graduated from Central Connecticut State University. I went to 3 different colleges. I took a year off, and my family was like freaked out because they're like, "You're not going to go back." And I'm like, "I'm going back. It's fine." I just didn't know what direction I wanted to go in. I started in sports medicine. Because I actually have a minor in biology. So I have a major in psychology, a minor in bio, and really fascinated by health and anatomy and things like that. So at that time, I just really wasn't sure like where I wanted to go. So I took a year off, and then I came back to school, was more clear, obviously majored in psych. And then I did a whole 1.5 years worth of work in a year. And then I was so tired of the cold of Connecticut that I was like, I'm out. The last winter we had that I was there, it was just like snowstorm after snowstorm. And my friend told me, and I just like fell on the floor, like very dramatic, fell on the floor. Like I just can't even do her. And what was funny about that is I had bought an old Dolero right before I came to Florida, like a few months prior. And, for anyone who's in a cold state, there's a portion of the morning where you run out and you turn your car on before, start up engines and stuff like that. You run out and turn your car on, you run back in, you got to let the car warm up. And I moved to Florida, and like the clicker on my key, like I accidentally did something and my car started on its own. I'm like, I had an automatic starter this whole time, and yet I'm running outside in the freezing cold, starting my car, and I'm like allergic to the cold. Yeah. So
that is so
I came
funny.
down here and got my master's degree at Nova. Southeastern, graduated in 2004, which sounds like so long ago. And actually, I've been in the mental health field since 2000. So even before I graduated undergrad, I've been in the mental health field. So
wow,
that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. So what was it like to be the oldest? Because I feel like not even just the oldest sibling, right? You said like oldest cousin, kind of just oldest in the family. What was that like?
Totally first child syndrome. I'm definitely a leader, a doer,
yes.
like, very responsible, like all of that. And
right.
in my, amongst my siblings, I'm also the only girl. And I don't want anyone to be confused. There was no Cinderella. I was more like the Cinderella cleaning the steps, right, in the rags, right? I didn't have that, like, she's our only girl, you know what I mean?
Right.
But growing up around boys, it's interesting because growing up around boys, I used to actually run group homes for boys. So it just was like easy. It's fun and cool to hang around teenage boys. Like no problem. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because my brothers used to run around in their white underwear, make race car noises, all the boy stuff. So that
sure
bothered me.
Was there a brother that you felt like kind of you could relate to more? That was kind of like, I feel really close to him because of, this, that, or the other.
Yeah, my brother Jeremy, who passed away, it was me and then him. So we came from the same mom and dad. And I definitely have been like the protective older sister through our
Sure.
life together. So yeah, so he's the closest. And I'm very close with the next one in line now, Frankie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that must have been, extra hard, being so close and losing him like that is. Yeah. So how did you guys kind of come together as a family around that?
That's a really great question, because interestingly enough, my experience through grief is that grief can be very separating. And, different people, even though you're in the same family, grieve A, very differently, B, have a very different relationship with the person, and C, we were already divided in certain ways. Interestingly enough, though, it did bring like my dad and stepmom and I closer, because we hadn't talked for a while. There had been a family conflict. So that actually kind of, brought us back together, which I'm grateful for. But it's very interesting because the relationship with that person who is now dead, someone might be angry and you're like, I'm not angry at them. And it's hard it's the desire to want to be with someone in their pain, you know what I mean? And not really know how. So it was a very interesting experience. And, grief overall for me it's very like cleaning out. Right. And we're in a huge place of grief and loss in our world right now. And so like the intolerance to BS, like it just, it's like if you, I always kind of think about it like your refrigerator, like you had takeout and you had this and you have a bottle of something sitting in there for a month that has mold on it. It's like you go on that fridge and you're just like, out. You know what I mean? So
it totally makes sense. I think there's something refreshing in that, right? But there's also something lacking in that, right? Like when I think about when I just cleaned out my fridge, I'm like, oh man, like now I have to go grocery shopping and like fill it all back up, right? And so there's this cleaning out, which feels good, but then there's this kind of like, how can I refill? What does life look like? How do I move on, right? And so how do you think, or how did it kind of more so help your practice or help with business? Like what did that filling up look like? How did you, maybe hold space for other people that were grieving?
Yeah, good question. Obviously when we have the experience of something, it changes how we act, behave, think. One of the things that I still do today, especially because grief is not like a broken arm, right? And a lot of times, most often we think, okay, if someone's sad or crying, so I check on people a lot, I know anniversaries, even just like checking in, and it could be 3 years later. I was just thinking about you. I know it's your brother's anniversary so that's there. And then I also I like to be able to kind of give people my experience and help educate people on, so this is kind of what I went through. And, one of the things I think, that we assume is that people know how to treat someone who's grieving. Right.
Right. Yes.
So sometimes I say, unfortunately, as hard as it is sometimes we need to educate people on what it is that we need. And if we don't know what we need, we can say that's okay. And also, just like doing the education work of like to other people, like don't say time heals all wounds and like all that stuff that we say. And I think it's constant education for many different issues in our world. So
I love that. It sounds like, a lot of times like there's that heated discussion in the therapy world, like disclose or don't disclose. Right. And so I love that it seems like you're able to do that on some kind of level. And it seems to be really helpful in people connecting. I think there's a different thing that comes up in the room when it's like, oh, they get it, like I don't even need to explain, like she gets it, and so I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And so, I mean, with therapy, sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. I guess I'm just kind of talking about like general overall, like maybe because so many people in my world are therapists, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Well, thanks for asking.
All right. So Kate, what about you? Tell us about your story, how you grew up, your family.
Yeah, people often say, where are you from? And I'm like, well, do you want the short version or the long version? Because I moved around probably I don't know, 10 times before I was 8 years old. We moved around a lot. And then people often assume, oh, maybe you were from a military family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I wasn't. I was born in California, and it was myself, my younger sister. She's 3 years younger than me. And both of my parents are still married today. They are about to celebrate their 50th anniversary, I think in 2 years from now. So that's going to be a big deal. Hopefully we'll be able to do something really fun for them. And they live where we are now, down here in South Florida in Fort Lauderdale. My sister's up in New Jersey now with her family. And I lived in California for maybe just less than a year. So I don't even really consider myself from there.
Sure.
We moved around to a lot of different places. My dad was in the furniture industry, and he was a really, really hard worker. I come from a long line of very hardworking people. My grandparents were business owners. They had a family-owned business, which was a hotel and restaurant down here in Fort Lauderdale on the beach. And so that's always been something that's been a big part of my life. And although we moved around a lot, we kind of settled in North Carolina, and I lived there for a while, over 10 years. And then I had moved. Wow. Yeah, so we kind of established roots there, even though I don't have anybody that lives there anymore. So when people are like, well, where's home for you? Home really feels like where I am now in Fort Lauderdale. Right. My grandparents have always lived here, and my parents now live here. I've lived here since 2004. My husband and his whole family lives down here. So it really feels like home, and I don't ever really see myself leaving. Sometimes I fantasize about what it would be like to move somewhere and just kind of start fresh, and where would that be, and that sort of a thing. But I don't think I'll ever really leave from where we are now. So growing up, what was it like? I was the oldest sibling, and I had my younger sister, Kristen, and we grew up for the most part in North Carolina. And I can remember during that time, my sister had started taking riding lessons when we were pretty young. I was probably, she was probably 6, maybe I was 9 or something like that.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And she wanted to get into it really bad. So my parents were supportive of her doing that. And I can remember saying, I want to learn how to ride a horse too. I want to do riding lessons. And so my parents said, okay, well, clean stalls work for your riding lessons. And so I was like 9, 10 years old, cleaning like 20 stalls, a week for these riding lessons. So they instilled this really strong work ethic in me at a very young age, and horses became a big part of my life. And I proved to them over several years that, this was a passion. This was something I was really committed to. And my sister was too. So equestrian was a big part of our life. And so we ended up actually moving onto a farm, and we had about 12 acres, and we had a couple of horses, and we had, a couple cats and dogs, and no other animals other than horses and cats and dogs. But that was a really special part of my life, and a lot of memories come from that. And I think there's a lot of just qualities that were instilled in me throughout those years that were very helpful and continue to be helpful for the person that I am today.
That's amazing. What do you feel like is one of the most important things that you feel like you took away from that time in your life?
I think it definitely instilled a very strong work ethic in me, and this desire to fight for something that I really want, to not give up. And when I have my focus on something that I really want, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to do the best that I possibly can. And I'm not really a competitive person, but with other people, I'd say I'm competitive with myself. So it instilled this desire to always give my best effort at whatever it is that I do. I have a desire for high quality of anything that I produce. Anything that I create, I really have high standards for myself. And so it's like that work ethic and really high standards for myself. And those are some qualities that were instilled based on all of the hard work and those years in my early years, just being around horses and yeah.
That's amazing. I think of my 9-year-old self, and like, if I wanted something, it was typically handed to me through some kind of tantrum or, and so it's so interesting just to hear how at such a young age that dedication was so constant. I think that's rare, especially for 9-year-olds today, you know? So I think that it really says a lot about who you are and how you remain constant through your business and growing it. So that's so cool. I would have never imagined that in a million years. So that's cool to hear.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't expecting to talk about it today, but.
So Katie, what were you like as a teenager?
Oh boy. Well, before I share that, I just want to take a quick break for our sponsor.
If you're looking for a new source of income or wanting to supplement your current work, BetterHelp.com is a great option. BetterHelp allows you the flexibility to choose your caseload size and schedule clients at your convenience. Every day, thousands of people seek the help of licensed therapists at BetterHelp. If you're a licensed therapist or psychologist, BetterHelp is the easiest way to apply your clinical expertise online. With BetterHelp, you can focus 100% of your time on counseling. No need to deal with finding referrals, business operations, managing insurance, or billing. They handle it all. Visit BetterHelp.com/PPS, as in private practice startup, to complete a brief application and get started today. That's BetterHelp.com/PPS.
So my teen years were tough. I was a pretty depressed teen. They were really difficult for many years. I would say probably, 15 through 18. But throughout that, like, no matter what I did, I never let school was to me, my saving grace, it was the thing that I could do, that I can control, that I can do well in. So I would excel there. Right. And I had many activities, and, as I think about my life today, I'm always very interested in trying new things. Like, I want to try that experience and that activity. One thing that I feel like really saved me and grounded me as a kid in middle school and through my teenage years is I did 7 years of karate. I'm actually a third degree brown belt. It's interesting, if you probably said a technique or a form to do now, it's so muscle memory. I could probably whip it out without even thinking.
Don't tempt me.
So from 12 to 19, karate was really stable in my life. And I did so many activities, from, I played basketball, I played volleyball, and also I did drama at the same time. I remember, I don't even remember where this was. I think I was 15, where I went to school, I did the sport, and then I was doing the high school play. So it was
wow.
Thinking about all that and how I was able to manage all that and get up and be at school at 7 a.m. I could get up 6:30, 7 now. I can't be functioning at 7 a.m. Ready to do class. So the teen years were tough, but the activities in school just really kind of pushed me through. And friends, there are things that my mom would say growing up and still today that I think I held on to then and now. Your family is who you make it. And so those things just really helped. And I have really great friends, long-lasting friendships in my life. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What play were you in?
Oh my gosh. So I actually did drama from first grade through, I think it was 10th grade. And I think the 10th grade play, we did 42nd Street, and I tapped. And 42nd Street. Yeah, I
love it. That's so awesome.
It's like a background dancer or something. I don't even know what the thing is called, but I think I feel myself doing it. I remember.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. What about you, Kate? What was it like to be a teenager?
My teen years were also tough. I was a pretty shy kid. I consider myself to be an introvert. And moving around all of those times when I was young and always having to start over at new schools and make new friends, and sometimes it being, right in the middle of the school year, it was very challenging. So I think having to do that so many times just really exacerbated shyness and some self-esteem issues and stuff like that. And so I struggled in my teen years, and I struggled with a lot of rebellion. I internalized a lot. I know my parents saw that I was in trouble and saw that I was having a really hard time, and they didn't know what to do with me because I wasn't really talking to them about what was going on. And so they dragged me into therapy. I can remember that from this old white dude who was sitting across from me. He had to have been I don't know, in my mind, 80 something when I was a teen, but he probably wasn't that old, right? I was just young, but I just remember going and being who is this guy? I'm not going to talk to him. at all. I just stonewalled the whole time. And obviously I didn't get anything out of it. And I think my mom went a couple more times and she's like, so how's therapy going? You're finding it helpful? I'm like, yeah, it's doing a lot for you, but it's not doing like a thing for me. Right. And then we just kind of like fizzled out. But it really inspired me as part of my own journey to become a therapist, of wanting to be a therapist that other people could connect to. Because I had that very like disconnecting, not helpful. And I wish I had gotten to a therapist during my teen years that could have reached me, that could have helped me. I think I would have made so many different choices in my life and not gone down the path that I went down for many years. But I learned a lot, and it definitely inspired my journey to want to help people in that way.
I love that. And that was perfectly my next question. How did both of you kind of come to the world of therapy? What did that look like? When did you kind of know? And either of you can answer.
Yeah, I think since I'm on the topic, I'll just go ahead and respond to your question. And when I first went to college, I chose a school because it was a party school, and who does that, right? Who chooses a school because it's a party school? I'm going to be honest.
Most people do.
Well, I did. I was like, I'm going to ECU because I lived in North Carolina at the time, because it's a party school and it was in state, so we could afford that. So I went and did my thing, and as I was in the general ed classes, it was so boring, and I was really not excelling at all, not giving it my all. And then I found a love for psychology. I think it was the second semester of school. I took a psychology class, and it was a huge class with like 300 people in there, just ridiculous. But I can remember falling in love with it. And it was like the one class that I was actually going to consistently, doing the work, really enjoying it. And so I found that I wanted to really pursue that route for a major. And then I had a teacher who was a marriage and family therapist, and she just blew my mind with she was a professor there, blew my mind with systemic theories and relational perspectives and all of that. And just, I remember I actually met with her a couple of times one-on-one, and she inspired me to want to become a marriage and family therapist, and from more of the relational and systemic perspective. And because I had family in South Florida, and Nova Southeastern University down here is a really great school, I wanted to move down here near family. And then I went to the master's and PhD program there, and really just never looked back.
That's so awesome. I feel like we all have that moment or that class or that time where it's like, this is it, like this is the thing that I connect with. This is the thing that clicks. And so I think that's really cool to hear about that moment for you. And so it's so interesting about Nova. So the grad school that I went to, I learned under a lot of the professors out of Nova. I don't know if you would know these people, but
so you went to Capella, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you know Paul Mayoni?
Yeah.
Of course we do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So we have these things called residencies, right? So basically you go for a week and you sit in a room for hours, okay, and practice therapy. And so he was my practicum kind of person that I learned under, and Melissa Bridges as well. And so they're amazing. Yeah. So that's
from Couples on the Brink.
Yes. Oh my gosh. They're amazing. I love it. What about you, Katie? How did you step into this crazy world that we call therapy?
I've been really interested in psychology. I remember taking psychology in high school and just always been pretty fascinated with it. Then even moving to college, always been interested in it. Abnormal psych at first I was very interested in, because again, with the body stuff and the brain, that was very interesting. And and even my work, I did a co-op in undergrad, and I worked in one of the schools in Connecticut that, if kids were expelled or suspended for behavioral issues, they would go to, and even some of the kids actually lived there. So I worked there and really enjoyed that. And for me, I think the big thing was that I was really committed early on in my career that children had a voice in their family and their families worked, because that just was not my experience and upbringing. Having your parents separate at 3 and be divorced, and having a super contentious divorce. My dad would send police to the house. My parents would get in fights and drag each other back and forth through court. And it just, I feel like we had a lot of our own, we did have a lot of our own therapy, like growing up and young through the teen years. And, I remember like Kate's talking about, like, many therapy experiences, but I do remember as a teen, again, like it's like a snapshot in my brain of going to a therapist, the therapist maybe meeting with me individually and then bringing the family in, and was just kind of like sitting there like, all right, like, okay, you guys talk. And it was just like, God, like what did I miss out on? What did my parents miss out on? Because there was no communication and no connection. And, you know, it was a very strong, like when I came down here, I, you know, was going to grad school. I was working as a case manager and became a supervisor. And I just, for me, you know, my paradigm and understanding, and I would just never do therapy differently when it comes to family work, is it's a mixture of individual and family. I would never see children just by themselves, like consistently throughout treatment, because of my strong commitment that it's really, I would see it as my job to bridge the communication gap between kids and their family, because I did not have that growing up. And, you know, I probably suffered in my own silence and depression and not knowing how to talk to my parents and things like that. And like Kate said, parents not knowing what to ask or say or like talk about.
Totally. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Very oddly, I think now with kids nowadays, like so much is out there, like you can't avoid talking about it. But like growing up, like, you know, I remember just getting caller ID on the phone. That was a big deal. You know what I mean? So you can stay hidden and parents don't always know what's going on. So that's kind of how I fell into the therapy world.
Yeah. So it sounds like, you know, a lot of your experiences have really shaped like this desire or passion of like, I want to be the person that I wish I had, right? Like I want to be that for other people. And that's so, so beautiful. I love that. Yeah. So stepping out of kind of the family stuff, how did you guys meet each other?
On a dating app. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we are in a business marriage. We met in supervision. So Katie graduated from the MFT program in 2004, the master's program at Nova, and I graduated in 2006. And we met in licensure supervision with Dr. Anna Lynn Schooley. You may know her from Capella.
Yes, she's amazing.
Yes, she is. She's got a special place in our heart. So we were in licensure supervision together, and then supervision of supervision to become LMFT approved supervisors in the state of Florida. And while we were in that process, the Broward Association of Marriage and Family Therapy had really dwindled out. It was basically like 6 feet under in the ground. And she twisted her arms to become president and vice president of the association. And we resurrected the chapter together and created this really thriving community that was doing so well. And that's how we learned that we could work really well together as business partners. And in 2014, that's when we first started working together. Gosh, 6 years. Can you believe that? I had gone to a supervision training that at the time was a 16-hour training. And it was the most boring training ever. And it was, it was like watching paint dry. And I was like, I remember leaving and calling Katie. And I was like, okay, if other people are having to take this training and it's so ridiculously boring, Katie and I are allergic to boring trainings. And we've done so many trainings together at LMFT. And then we work so well together. I was like, we need to offer this. We can teach this and we can have so much fun. And so that's how our business relationship was born. We created K2 Visionaries. That was our first company. And then in 2016, we had our epiphany. We had a CTJ moment where I thought Katie was going to divorce me and leave me forever.
Oh, no.
Because we just realized that we were spreading ourselves way too thin, trying to be everything to everybody. And we didn't really have a clear niche. And we were doing all the things that we like teach other people not to do, which is classic because we're teaching everybody how to learn from our mistakes all the time.
Of course.
So we had lunch at one of our favorite restaurants to go to together, eat those. And Katie, why don't you take it from here?
So yeah, that's funny. So we had just done a podcast before this one on Enneagrams, and I'm learning about myself a little bit. And, you know, sometimes I just come on really hard and direct, you know, like, this is not working. Because I just asked Kate, I'm like, well, how do you think it's going? And she's like, it's good. It's great. I'm like, no, this is not working. We're not serving therapists the way that we need to be serving them. You know, like it you know, and she's like, okay, like what's going on? And I'm like, no, we got to figure out a way. Like, you know, all therapists want to know how to market. Like we got to focus on that. We're not going to do the whole nuts and bolts, you know. And so whatever, we, you know, left the the meeting, the lunch. Kate, like Kate said, she thought I was going to divorce her.
I was anxious for months.
I grew into major anxiety, but then that really helped us focus our business and really focus on creating the marketing course and coaching program, and really streamlining, because we see that therapists struggle the most when it comes to marketing. And the struggle really is they're not even aware of creating that clear foundation of business before they can do marketing strategies. So we really help them, lead them through the process of having the vision first of their business. And so we really wanted to specifically focus on that stuff because that's where they struggle the most with. And then so we obviously since then we've just been streamlining the business, and it's, obviously we are what we preach, you know what I mean? And the more that you streamline and niche down, the wider you can grow and the bigger you can grow, and the clearer you are of your focus and your expertise. So
yeah, so it's way different than I imagined. I imagine you're like, oh, we kind of have the same name. Let's hang out. But that's so cool that you guys found how well you could work together, and to come together and build a business and go through the hardship of that, and then still come together and continue to grow. I think that's huge. I'm curious how either of your spouses feel about your success. Is it kind of they're the ones that's oh, it's like Katie or Kate, what's kind of their take of how you guys manage success, and how is that difficult?
Brent, my husband, is a huge supporter of ours. He helps out with the business a lot, both with my group practice, with baby therapy, and then also with a private practice startup. Anytime we're needing number crunching or marketing ideas, or just different types of sometimes tech work and that type of stuff, he chimes in. But he's a huge supporter of us, and he and I both have entrepreneurial spirits, and we both love this stuff. He's an entrepreneur as well, and he's in a tech startup. And so we're constantly talking about business and expansion and growth opportunities and different things like that. We work really well together, and Brent complements Katie and I as well, because Katie and I both bring different strengths to the table. We complement each other really well. We've got really great communication, which is great. And so it's really not a struggle. The only struggle I would say is that we take on too much. Brent takes on too much. I take on too much, and it's a lot of juggling. And so especially right now with the pandemic, having my 5-year-old son not being able to go to school because schools were closed, and we don't feel comfortable sending him now. So we're going to wait until August when school starts back. He'll be starting in kindergarten. And then I have a 5-month-old baby as well. And so juggling that with all of our business passions and roles and responsibilities, that's the hard thing, because family is, of course, our top priority. And I'm in business for myself because I want to have the freedom and flexibility to be able to, work when I want to work and not work when I don't want to work. And when I get myself committed to too many things, then it can be just challenging. And so Brent and I struggle a little bit with that, and especially the past couple of months because of the pandemic. He's been working from home. I've been working from home. We got both the kids. I have my son Landon in the other room right now. I can hear him yelling, "Mommy, can I come out yet?" As we're on the podcast a couple of times, and I'm just ignoring him now. He'll be okay. He's supposed to be in there for nap time. And then my other son Jackson is sleeping in the other room. So it's just kind of crazy right now.
Right.
I hope that answers your question.
Oh, totally. Totally. I get this picture of both people having huge dreams and huge desires and huge passions. And so it almost sounds like, how do we manage having these really, really big dreams and passions and still stay grounded to living the family life that we want to? Mm-hmm. And so I totally get it. My husband is the big dreamer, and I'm kind of the grounded one. And so I heard this description a long time ago, but it sounds like I feel like he's like this balloon that's tethered to the rock or something. And I kind of just go wherever he's dreaming, but sometimes we go back on the ground and stay grounded. And so I think that's cool to have, nice. two dreamers, two, passion, really passionate people that just want to set the world on fire. I think that's awesome. What about for you, Katie?
So luckily my other half is also in business and entrepreneur. So it's not really difficult, though it's funny. She has definitely made comments of being jealous, like of the time that I spend with Kate. Oh, Kate's coming over for the whole day. Oh, you're working in your business for the whole day. Like things like that. And like, oh, you're going to Kate's again, so, so I think sometimes there's that like, a little jealousy of like, oh, spending so much time working with Kate on the business, but we're both entrepreneurs. She's in real estate. So there's not, I don't know that, I think it'd be really hard to be with someone that doesn't have big goals and dreams and is an entrepreneur. And that is definitely a source of strength in our relationship. And, I always think about Gottman and goals and dreams. And, Kate experiences the same thing. You're kind of talking and it's a very like intellectual and exciting conversation and like creative. But, the difficult part is, because especially from working from home is, when do you cut it off? Where do you cut it off? And she and I are very different in the sense that, she's a night owl. She gets up late, so she can work till 2 a.m. and I'm up early. And, you know what I mean? So like creating balance is the difficulty.
Totally. Absolutely. I get it. So I'm curious, as I've listened throughout the years, Katie, you talk a lot about like body work that you've done. And so I'm curious, like, what has that looked like? What have you learned from that? I'm envisioning,
what do I say?
I don't know. Like, you're like, I've done a lot of work around like body work and stuff. And so I'm envisioning like Reiki chakra or something like that. So
that's so funny you picked that up. So interestingly enough, I'm doing body work right now in the sense of medical massage.
Cool.
So I've had Reiki done to me. It's interesting. Like when I was, talking, I guess this is all really related, just always being very interested in the body and health and things like that. Actually, when I was 17, I worked in a health food store, like because I wanted to, because I was so interested in health. So like body work, like even at 18, I was already doing acupuncture. I also met a massage therapist.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like at 18, 19, who needed someone to do like her hours on. So like, I don't know if it was once a month or once a week, but I'd go to her house and I get free massages back then. So I have done Reiki and I've done a lot of like just personal and professional growth work. I'm just like trying to think of like all the stuff like on the spot, like when I talk about like, body work. There's so much more, like just different types of energy work and
What do you feel like is your favorite
out of all of that stuff?
The free massages, probably.
Yeah. Well, what's very interesting with this medical massage, so with the whole thing going on with the I've had chronic back issues for over 20 years, and with the whole thing going on with the pandemic and being online so much, it's like extremely exacerbated my neck stuff. And it's funny because I have on my like list of things that my categories of things to do or that I want or whatever, I had body work on there for a long time. But this body work stuff, this medical massage, I had like work done just on my, like 90 minutes on my neck and my scapula. That's it. And it was interesting. It's like totally like release something. And of course, as a therapist, like we're working on it and I could feel my mind is telling my body to relax, but my body won't. And so, of course, I'm going like, okay, I wonder what past traumas I'm carrying and what are the triggers here and what am I holding on? But interestingly enough, since Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, my arm feels like completely different, So I'm again also curious is like, oh, good. Did I let go of some stuff? And
that's awesome. That's so cool. I love that. So for you, Kate, I know you have your PhD. Were you ever interested in going into teaching?
No.
No.
It's interesting because people ask me now, like, oh, do I need to go get my PhD in private practice in order to be able to charge what I'm worth and this and that? And I always tell them there's really not a point of going to get, and I hope this is not a bad thing to say, but I'm just going to say it, of going and getting your PhD unless you're going to be in academia. If you're going to be in academia and you're going to do research and that's your way of contributing to the field, awesome. Do that, follow that, and it makes sense to definitely get your PhD. I knew that I didn't want to go into teaching. I wanted to get the PhD because I felt like I wasn't done learning yet, and I really wanted to have I wanted to have more confidence. I wanted to have more understanding and expertise. And it was just something that was important to me. And I enjoyed school. I loved learning about our theories and all of that. So I just didn't want to stop. I wanted to keep going for that. But I don't want to teach in traditional academia. I enjoy, and I knew this was part of my vision as well. I love being able to do the private practice coaching and teaching clinicians how to brand themselves and grow the dream practices, but in the format that we're doing it. So it's really limitless. And the academia is such a more, feels confined to me, and like it boxed in, and it feels so limitless and expansive and just much more in congruence with the type of lifestyle that I want to live, and really making a bigger impact in the ways that we do. So I teach, absolutely, but just not in a traditional way. So
that's awesome. That's
interesting
amazing.
question.
So do you regret it?
No, I don't regret it at all. I'm really glad that I did. Sometimes I'm like, gosh, I cannot believe I was in school until I was 30. I'm 38 now. I'll be 39 in August. And my son the other day, he was like, I asked him how old was I, and he said, "You're 28." And I was like, "Oh, wow. Thanks, buddy." And I was like, gosh, if I was 28, I'd still be in school. I'd still be, I was just working like so hard during that time. So I don't regret it at all. I'm glad that I did it. It brought a lot to my life.
And you're using it now in a non-traditional way. That's
totally
awesome.
Different way. Yep.
So, Kate, how would you, if you could describe each of your children in one word, what would it be?
Oh my goodness, that's such a hard question. It's so funny because as you ask that, I'm hearing Jackson like making baby talk in the background, like singing, and then I'm hearing Landon like talking from his room. One word. I think I need a minute to like think about it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Katie the next question.
Fire something at Katie and then come back to me. Let me think of one word to describe each.
So, Katie, I know that you are an incessant book reader. So what book are you reading right now?
Interesting. Adam, do you know my story about reading books? I think that's important. If you
tell us the story.
So I was never an avid book reader up until I think 2015, and I skated through school, including my master's degree, only reading 2 books because I hated reading because I didn't think I was a reader, and I had so many books that all had bookmarks like in the 3rd chapter, and I'd have to read the paragraph over and over. And interestingly enough, when I went through business coaching, my business coach had given me a book to read. It was a 60-page book to read with pictures.
Yes.
It's called Rhinoceros Success. And he also talked about this worksheet that he wanted me to do. So I was like, "Hey, Michael, can I have the worksheet?" And he said, "Did you read the book?" And I said, "No, I'm not a reader." I was like, "Can I have the worksheet?" He's like, "No, read the book." And I'm like, man. With this book, it was 60 pages. I would sit outside and set my timer on my phone for 10 minutes and read 10 minutes a day until I finished the 60-page book with pictures. But that did spring me into really understanding and loving to read. And I've realized like I could potentially go to a 3-day training that costs $1,500. And then sometimes what they create in that training is in a book. And if I'm committed and dedicated and disciplined enough to like hash that all out and understand it, I can utilize a lot of that information to grow, Of course, I believe in going to trainings and things like that and would, but like the richness of books is just, it blows my mind. Like, what was I missing all this time? But that's right awesome. Now, so there's several books I'm reading at once. I'm reading Mike McCallitz's Fix This Next. I also am reading The Science of Getting Rich, Being Well, and Being Great. I think that's the name of the book. So I read it once, and it's by Wallace Wattles, and Wallace Wattles is one of the people that Think and Grow Rich Napoleon Hill references in his book. And so I've read it, but now I'm like going back over it and like fine-tooth combing it. And I'm also like helping my spouse in real estate. So I'm reading real estate stuff. So 3 different things going on at one time.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Cool.
I have my words. They came to me as soon as Katie started talking. I was like, okay, I got them.
Let's hear it.
For my son, Landon, he's, I would say loving. That's the first word because he's
sweet boy.
So sweet and kind. And he just has such a like caring spirit. He's obsessed with his little brother. It's the sweetest thing ever, constantly giving the hug, rub, kiss. He does he does it like multiple times a day between like before bed and any transition that we have. He does a little rub on his head. He kisses him on the forehead and he hugs him. He calls it the hug, rub, kiss. It's like adorable. It's very cute. But Landon's just very, very loving and caring. And I would say for Jackson, strong is the word to describe him. He is my miracle baby. I had secondary infertility and miscarriages and just a lot of issues getting to the point of being able to have him. So he is a blessing. And even when I was pregnant with him, it felt so different from my first pregnancy, and maybe because of the losses and how hard it was. It was just a different experience, but he felt so strong when he was inside my stomach, and even with his kicks and his moves and everything. And I thought he was going to be such a big baby. And he came out and he was so much smaller than Landon was, but he was so strong. And even now he's so strong and sturdy. And there's just this like strength in him.
Like an inner strength almost too.
Yeah, it's this inner strength, and that's just how I would describe him.
So cool. I love that. I think it's a perfect balance between the two, right? Like the kind of really strong, kind of solid, stable, and then, the lovey, mushy, gushy. I think I can't wait to hear and see what they're going to be.
Yeah, me too.
So I have 2 more questions, and then we can move into the lightning round questions. So I'm curious, what is either of your Enneagram numbers? And Katie, I could bet $5 million that you're a 3.
Oh my gosh.
Is that right?
So, Kate and, Allison Prieur and Laura Long have been talking about the Enneagram, and we're like on a chat together, and I was like feeling like left out, and I'm like, I got to figure this out. So I took one of those like quick tests, and it shows that I'm a 1, but I definitely relate to the 3 as well.
Okay.
So I haven't dove into it enough to really like fully understand, but Kate's taken more of a deep dive.
It would not surprise me if you were a 3 or a 1. I could see you in both of those aspects
totally.
in both. I believe I'm a 2 with a 3 wing, but I'm not completely sure. And we just finished recording the 2 podcasts with the Empowered Enneagram girls right before this episode. So I was really inspired by them, and I might want to do even more of a deep dive. I just find it fascinating.
It is. I'm also a 2. So
are you? Awesome. Very cool.
That's so cool. I love that. And do either of you have any tattoos or piercings?
I had a belly button piercing. When the day I turned 18, it was one of my rebellious things. My parents were like, you cannot get any piercings. I double pierced my ear by myself when I was like, I don't know, in middle school or something. And I got grounded for like a month. It was ridiculous. So that was one of my rebellion things. I was like, I'm getting my belly button pierced when I turn 18, but no tattoos, which is surprising. Okay. I've considered getting a tattoo. But yeah, I haven't.
That's funny that you had said.
What would you get if you could get a tattoo?
I hadn't considered getting it until I'd gone through these losses with the miscarriages and just such a difficult time. And it was a couple-year process. I was struggling so much with that. And I always thought I wouldn't really get a tattoo unless there was something really grieving or something really pronounced that had happened in my life that I just felt like I needed to make meaning out of it and remember that meaning. So I had talked about it before I ended up getting pregnant with Jackson. I brought it up to my husband. We were on a trip, just the 2 of us, for his birthday. We were in Nashville. And I remember talking to him about this desire to want to get a tattoo. And it was going to be something to just make meaning out of everything regarding all of that. And I wasn't sure what the symbol was going to be, but I wanted to have a symbol and maybe put it on my wrist so I could cover it with a watch, but something that I could glance down on and just to keep me grounded, give me faith and, hope. But I wasn't sure what symbol I wanted to do.
That's so cool. I love that. What about you, Katie?
Yeah, so I have 3 tattoos. And it's funny that you mentioned about piercing your own ears. I did that too, twice.
Really? I did have something new I learned about you.
Something new I learned about you with the tattoos. Yeah, no, I think I was in high school and I pierced my own ears. I'm holding the ice up and then poking
the apple, right? Like,
man. But I have my traces. I did have a tongue ring a while back, but I do have 3 tattoos.
Cool. Where are they?
They're 2 on my shoulder. They're 2 hearts, and that's really for my brother, and it's pure in love. And then 1 on my ankle.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready for the lightning round?
Sure.
I'm ready.
Okay, so do you guys want to do, each of you gets your own section, or do you want me to jump back and forth between the 2?
Just let's jump back and forth. Let's quick fire.
Okay, all right. So, Kate, what is a movie that you have seen, or that everyone has seen and you have not?
Movie that everyone has seen that I have not. The Godfather. Haven't seen any of them.
Okay. And then, Katie, what are 3 things that everyone loves but you hate?
That's hard. 3 things that everyone loves but I hate. Well, it's funny because you talked about movies. Like, I'm not a big sci-fi person, so it's not that I hate Star Wars. I'm just won't sit through it. Sorry.
I'm not into it either.
3 things that everyone loves that I hate. Kate could probably answer these questions about me. Well, not everyone loves snow, but I hate snow. I hate the cold, I should say. Oh gosh, what else? It'd just be easier to 3 things that I hate.
We could do that. 3 things that you really, really, really dislike.
Really, really dislike. Now I feel like I just set myself up. I'm like, okay, well, that's easier. These are hard. 3 things I really dislike. Of course, I'm going to know all of them. When we get out, I'm feeling under pressure. 90 seconds. Okay. All right, ask Kate, and then I'll come back.
Okay. So, Kate, do you have any secret addictions?
Retail therapy. Yes.
That
is definitely. Okay. It's not so much a secret though, because I love some retail therapy. Yeah, and I haven't shopped for a while. I save up my credit card points, and I get the gift cards. And I've been saving mine because from before I was pregnant. So I have a bunch of gift cards.
When those stores open,
ready.
You're ready.
All my business credit cards that I have, I save up my points and then I can go shopping personally. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back in the stores once we're on the other side of the pandemic stuff.
That's awesome.
Yes. All right, I want to answer that question.
Okay. Okay, you can. I'll let you answer that one.
I'm blown away because this is not my usual thing. I have been watching 90 Day Fiancé for years now. And that is the only show that I freaking watch. And I don't time shows oh my God, it's on. It's 8:00. Let's watch it. It's ridiculous.
Yes. Well, there is definitely a therapist aspect to that show. My husband and I also watch it pretty religiously.
Yes. And so I can't not eat popcorn without finishing the whole bowl. And it doesn't matter if it's a bowl this big or a tub. I will finish the whole thing. I think I just chase the salt. That tasted good. And find the next buttery salt. It's very addictive. Where's the next one? And then I'm putting my, so that is one of my secret addictions.
That's awesome. So do you like kettle corn or regular buttery popcorn?
Yeah, buttery salty.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, Kate, what is your favorite scent or smell?
My favorite scent or smell. I was walking with Landon the other day, and he was picking out all of these flowers. It's the sweetest thing. He's like, I don't know where he got this from, but he's calling me Queen Mommy the past couple of days.
Yes, I am your queen.
Flowers. Yes, it's adorable. And I'm like, that's a good point. Yes, I am the queen. And all my boys, right?
Yeah.
I'm the queen of the household forever. And so he picks these flowers and he's like, here you go, my queen. Here you go, my queen, as we're going around the neighborhood. I don't know where he got it from. It's just adorable. And he picked a rose the other day and it just smelled so good. And so that's something that's very fresh in my mind. Just the smell of a beautiful rose. Yeah.
Awesome. And last question for Katie. What's your go-to Netflix or Hulu series other than 90 Day Fiancé?
So interesting. I'm not a series person, but I love murder shows. So anything about crime, murder that's real. I really love that stuff. So no specific series, although I would say Mindhunter is I've only binged on 2 Netflixes, whatever, in my life. And the first one was Dead to Me. And then it was Mindhunters, and I'm like still like longing for like, when is it going to come back? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
During the hurricane time, we literally watched Mindhunters till 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Did you see the new episodes of Dead to Me yet?
No, see, I don't know. I don't like series because I just feel like they become like soap opera like. It's like so much thrown into one thing, and it's like, come on.
Yeah,
I'll start watching something, and then I'm like, okay, all right, let's just know we're gonna blow up the building, and then this person, like we watched Empire before, and it was like, there's just too much going on here. Like, how is this all possible? You know, so.
My husband is the same way. Like, we were watching some kind of show, and it had already finished. It was Revenge, and he was like, let's just skip to the end. And so we committed to like months of watching this show, and we like fast forward to the end because it was just like, we're over it. Like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys don't usually do this, but I was going to do a quick this or that, and it'll go real quick, and I just wanted to see what you guys, okay. So
we'll end with that. It'll be perfect.
Perfect.
No, we'll end with this. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so, oh gosh.
That was good.
All right. So, Kate, macaroni and cheese or spaghetti?
Mac and cheese.
Katie, reality TV or documentaries?
Documentaries.
Kate, beach or mountains?
Both. Can I say both?
Yeah, you can say that.
I guess I would have to say this, being beach.
Okay. Katie, tea or coffee?
Oh, coffee. Coffee.
Kate, burgers or tacos?
Tacos?
Both?
Question mark?
Katie, salty or sweet?
Oh, salty.
And Kate, shower or tub?
I don't have a tub, so I'd say shower. But yeah.
Katie, online shopping or in-person shopping?
In person. Well, if it's clothes, in person, everything else online.
Yeah. And Kate, flowers or chocolate?
Flowers.
Katie,
chocolate.
Book.
Sorry.
Katie, book or audiobook?
Book.
Okay. Kate, in-person therapy or telehealth?
In person.
Katie, fall or summer?
Summer, but I do love fall. I go back to Connecticut for fall.
Oh,
I'll stay with summer though.
Yes. Yeah. Kate, sleep in or early bird?
I used to be a sleep in, but now I have to be an early bird because of the kids.
I hear you. Katie, ice cream or pastry?
Pastry. I don't really love either, but pastry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's all I got for you guys.
Well, Chrissy, thank you so much. It was a joy. And what did you learn about us?
Man, so much. I think the big stuff with Kate and like all her growing up in an equestrian life, and I think hearing just like a glimpse of some of your experience around your pregnancy, I think that is something people would love to hear more about. And so I think if you guys wanted to do a future podcast and really dive into some of that stuff, I think that would be so helpful for so many people. And then, Katie, I love just hearing your story and kind of like your family life and how that was really difficult, because, I never would have imagined that in a million years. And just to hear your story and, in that way was, I think, really special for me. And I know it's going to be special for all your listeners. So thank you for sharing that, both of you.
Well, thank you for being such a great interviewee. And I can only imagine how awesome your clients feel, because you're like curious and there, and it was great. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And we hope that you guys really enjoyed this podcast series. And we hope that you continue to listen to our podcast as we switch back to the business chat. And you can always find more of our podcast at the Private Practice Startup, or I should say at privatepracticestartup.com. And if you guys want to pick podcasts by topics, you can also check out the Quick Reference Podcast Guide. So, Kate,
Yeah, we will see you next time. Thank you so much, Chrissy. This was awesome. It was really an honor to have you back on. And
thank you guys.
You did such an amazing job and helped us to just feel super comfortable, even though we were a little nervous to start with. Startup Nation, if you guys are loving the series, definitely let us know. We would love for you to share with your fellow colleagues and friends. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our show. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you back for regular podcasts and look forward to inspiring you from startup to mastery.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.